Greetings and welcome, everyone. My name is Lokita Maka. In this session, we're going to discuss fertilization, pregnancy, and birth. This is covered in agricultural sciences under animal reproduction, grade 12 lesson. So, if you're a grade 12 learner, please feel free to be stuck with me for the next 30 minutes. Hopefully, that we will be able to cover this in 30 minutes. Get your pen, get your paper, write notes down, and we're gonna have fun. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. This channel is growing because of you. Please don't forget to share this with other people that may need it. Share with your friends, share with your child or children, your learners, everyone that you know that this might be helpful to them. So, what are we talking about when we are talking about fertilization? When we are talking about pregnancy, when we're talking about birth, what is this process all about? So, pregnancy basically begins at fertilization and it ends at parturition. So, this is birth, right? Now, what will happen is fertilization will occur in the fallopian tubes, right? When the DNA now of a spermatozoon reaches the DNA of the ovum, right? Now, many spermatozoa are required to break down the cells that are surrounding the ovum, right? Now, these, remember now, these spermatozoa, right, will be released from the male animal, right? There will be many of them, but only one is needed or only one will fertilize the ova, right? They will run, all of them. The siblings will run together and they need each other so that they can break down the cells of this ova, right? However, only one is capable of fertilizing the ova. Now, what will then happen is now the calf will then undergo now two distinct phases of pregnancy, right? We've got two phases of pregnancy. Now, what happens now in these phases, right? What are these phases? What are these two phases? We've got what we call the embryonic phase. Now, this phase occurs from fertilization. So, from that day when the ovum was fertilized by the spermatozoon, right, until 45 days later, right? So during the first 4 to 5 days, the embryo remains in the fallopian tube, right? Before it can move into the uterus, where it remains unattached for the first month, right? Now, remember, 45 days, that's more than a month, right? So what will happen now? During this time, the cells will then multiply rapidly and then will differentiate into 3 layers. Now, these layers are endoderm, mesoderm, and ectoderm. I hope you are writing. Now, these will give rise, right, to various organs and tissues later on, at a later stage now. Now, during this time, now the embryo is attached to the endometrium. I hope your textbook is next to you. Now, the amnion, which is filled with amniotic fluid, and the placenta will then begin to develop right at the space. Now, what will happen? Now, the fetal phase, which is the second phase, will then develop or will start. It will begin at day 45. Now, this is when now the fetus is clearly recognizable. Now, this is when you can see the fetus. Now, you can see it as a calf. Now, the tissues are differentiated. Now, during this time, the calf grows and the organs will continue to develop. The bones again are also calcified, they will harden as well, and then the hair will grow on the calf. right? So this is the second stage. So this is related now to the fetus. It's the fetal phase. Now this is where you can clearly see the fetus. But with the embryonic phase, you cannot see the fetus. This is basically the embryo, right? Now, we've got various problems that can occur during pregnancy. And now, one of these problems are resorption, right? Now, resorption occurs now if the embryo dies before implantation and is either partially or wholly reabsorbed, right? Now, this is the most case. And the most common cause of this is basically due to a failed pregnancy. And now, what will happen? No signs will be seen. And now, as all of these tissues, the embryonic tissues, are reabsorbed by the cow. So, it can occur due to genetic mutations. It can also occur due to infection or even what we call corpus luteum, right? Like the degeneration of the corpus luteum, right? Then we've got what we call abortion. Now, abortion is similar to miscarriage, which occur in human beings. So, if you are aware of human reproduction, then you'll be aware that one of the problems that arise or that can arise in pregnancy of human beings is miscarriage. But with animals, we don't say it's miscarriage, we say it's abortion, right? So abortion now will occur if the fetus dies and then is expelled through the vagina, right? Now you will take note here. On the previous slide, we talked about two phases, the embryonic phase and then the fetal phase. Now, reabsorption will occur during embryonic phase because this is when now the embryo dies before the implantation, right? And then it gets reabsorbed. But with abortion, it occurs now during the fetal stage. So the fetus dies and then it's expelled through the vagina. So it comes out, it comes off the vagina, right? Now, usually one would notice the membranes and the aborted fetus being expelled from the vagina. But in some cases, the dead fetus may remain in the uterus. Now, what will happen? This will cause more problems. Imagine if um, now the fetus dies and then it remains there. So it may decompose, obviously, because it's dead. And now what that will cause, it may cause infections, right? So also in general, abortions can cause infections, right? And and they may occur because of infections as well, and they may also occur because of imbalances in hormones. They may be caused by genetic defects. They may be caused by malnutrition in the cows, and also injury is also one of the causes of abortions, and also poisons or toxins that may be found in the body. They might affect the fetus that is growing, right? Now, another thing that occurs, or another problem that may occur in pregnancy or during pregnancy, is what we call free matins. So this can develop if now the cows of the opposite sex are twins. So what will happen is the male hormones can affect female calf by causing her to be sterile, or and again to be more like an ox, right? So now, basically, when we're talking about twins, twins can happen in two ways. They can occur in two ways. Either monozygotic twins, those are identical twins, which occur from a zygote, that is an ovum that has started to grow, dividing, right? And each portion developing independently, or polyzygotic twins. Now, these are fraternal twins which develop from two separate oocytes that are each fertilized and develop normally, right? So take note of these so that you can have a clear understanding on how twins form. So they can either be monozygotic twins or polyzygotic twins, right? Remember, mono means one, poly means many, right? Then now let's look at the process of birth, parturition. Now, parturition is when now the calf is expelled through the vagina, right? Now, this is when the cow is giving birth. It's taking out that baby calf outside so that she or he can live life. Hopefully, it will be soft life, hey? I'm joking. But now, remember, just like with human beings, now remember I said if you are aware or if you have knowledge on human reproduction, now this is not different from human reproduction. With human reproduction, if a woman is in labor, she will show signs. Now, with cows as well, during this phase, she will show signs. The cow will show signs to say that, okay, now I'm close to parturition. Now I'm ready to give birth. Now, these will include restlessness. The cow will be restless, right? And also, one of the things the cows do, she will isolate herself. And you will also notice now, as a farmer or as an extension officer or someone who is working closely with animals, because I assume with you doing agricultural sciences, somewhere, somehow, you do have interest in working either with animals or with plants. You are interested in being in the field of agriculture, right? So the abdomen will also drop. Now, this also occurs in human beings. Now, you'll hear the old ladies noticing a woman that, okay, this one is close to give birth, either this month or this week, because they will notice that the abdomen has dropped. So, this also occurs with cows as well. Now, remember, we are using cows because we are talking about animals here, animal reproduction. This is agricultural sciences and not life sciences. If it was life sciences, then we're gonna talk about human beings, right? And then there would be the development of the udder and also development production of milk. Then the cow, close to that time, will urinate frequently. Now, this is because the bladder is pressed, right? And now this calf is ready to come out. And also, there would be mucus that would be removed from the vulva or that will come out from the vulva. So parturition can be described basically in three phases, right? Now, these phases, one, for the first phase, this is preparatory phase. Now, this is when the uterus now will begin to contract involuntarily. At the same time, the cervix opens and the allantois now ruptures to release the allantoic fluid, which lubricates the birth canal. Now, with with um with this allantois, right? We're gonna talk about this later on in the next slide, right? And then the second phase is the birth now. Now, this occurs as now this baby fetus is removed or is expelled now by powerful uterine contractions as well as abdominal contractions, right? And then in this case, now the amnion ruptures, right? And then the fluid is then released. Now, this also lubricates the birth canal. Now, the fetus is then expelled now through the dilated cervix, and then the umbilicus now pulls the loose from the endometrium, right? Now, basically, the normal representation or normal presentation of the calf will be the forelegs first, and the head first, right? It's the forelegs and the head first, then followed now by the abdomen and the hind legs last. So the head and the forelegs will go out first, then the abdomen as well as the legs that are at the back, which we call the hind legs, go out last, right? Then we've got after birth expulsion now. Now, this occurs after the calf has been born. Now, how does this occur? Right? Now, what will happen here is the uterus now will contract again to expel now the placenta, the umbilical cord, and also other membranes that are associated now with pregnancy and birth, right? Now, what are these membranes? What are these layers? So, the fetus is surrounded by a number of layers or number of membranes. Now, these are one, amnion, which is the inner layer. Now, this forms a fluid-filled sac or the second water bag around the fetus, right? Then we've got the allantois, which is the central layer. And now, this consists of two layers which form a closed sac, right? Now it is connected to the urachus that drains the urinary bladder of the fetus and joins the umbilical cord. Now the main function of this layer, this central layer, is to exchange gases that are used by the fetus and also to collect waste from the fetus. Then we have the chorion. Now, this is the outer layer, right? Now, um, this membrane is in contact with the inner membrane in the uterus, right? Then we've got conditions that interfere with the normal parturition. Um, Dystocia, right? Now, when we're talking about dystocia, this condition, we're basically talking about any abnormality or difficulty a cow has during birth. Now, the causes of dystocia may either be maternal or it can be fetal. So it can be caused by issues that affect the mother or issues that affect the calf. So one, when we look at the maternal causes of dystocia, right? Now, an overly fat cow, if a cow is overly fat, that can be a problem. If a cow has a disease, any type of a disease, that can be a problem. And also, if there are issues with the pelvis, right, or defects in the pelvis, or if the cow had an injury or milk fever, those can be issues then that can affect the birth process. Now, those are maternal causes. Now, what about fetal causes? Now, overly large calf, again, if the calf is big, that can cause dystocia. If the calves are twins, if there is a dead calf, and also if there is an abnormal presentation. If you can look at the screen here, there are abnormal presentation of the calves, and also if a calf is deformed, right? So now, what will happen? If you notice now as a farmer or as a vet, any cause of dystocia, this needs to be addressed immediately because it could result in the death of the calf. So if there are If you notice anything, and then as a farmer, or you need either to do it yourself if you have been trained, or if you have trained yourself, or you contact a vet immediately, right? So now in some cases what will happen, right? um, the calf may need to be repositioned or pulled, but using force now can damage the cow. Now, in cases of human beings, you understand with similar cases, now the cesarean section becomes the savior, it becomes a solution, right? But now, even in this case, if the case of the calf, if there is, like in extreme cases, now there may be need to cut now some pieces in order to 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 remove the calf, or if it's a dead calf that cannot be taken out, then it may be need again to be cut into smaller pieces so that you can save the calf, right? So these are issues, these are conditions that need to be looked at by the farmer. Now, if you look at this diagram again, these three diagrams. Now, the first one, now remember I said that the normal representation or the normal presentation of birth, of the birth process, it's the head and the forelegs first, then the abdomen and the hind legs last. So now if you look at the last one, yes, the forelegs are there, but now the head is facing the other direction. Again, on this one, the head is in front, but now there is the issue with the limbs, right? With the last one, the last presentation again, the calf is facing on the opposite direction. So it's supposed to face on the direction of the pelvis so that it can come out. I hope this makes sense. So now, a cow may retain the afterbirth, especially after she has a disease, right? The afterbirth now could rot and cause what we call metritis, metritis, right? Now, this is an infection of the uterus, right? Now, the causes now of the issues of placenta or placenta retention can include either abortion, deficiencies in vitamin A, failure now of the uterus to contract after birth, and also giving birth to twins or short pregnancy or dystocia again, right? And now a difficult birth may result now in the vagina or a vulva that tears. Now, this is usually the result of having to use force to remove the cow or the cow's hoop penetrating the soft tissues of the cow, so they may tear. And another thing, another problem is that they can be paralysis. Now, the cow can be paralyzed. So it can be paralyzed either one of the legs or both legs, that is the hind legs, due to the pressure that is exerted on the nerves of the pelvis. So the cow now in this case may have difficulties in standing and won't be able to use those affected legs for some time. Right? So yes, that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that was useful. Um, Please leave your comments in the comment section below. If you have any additions, please do feel free to share with us. Remember, we are all here learning here. This is a learning phase for us. Feel free to share questions that are related to this topic so that we can all answer them together in the comment section below. Share this with your friends, share this with your colleagues, your learners, your children. This is for everyone. This is for all of us. We need to understand these things. If you are someone who's interested in starting your own farm, one day your own animal farm, either it's a dairy farm or beef farming, this is for you. But remember, this is not limited to cows. It also touches on other animals as well, because the processes are not they are similar. So yes, please leave your comments in the section comment section down below, and also advise which topic should I touch on now. I know that most of you are going to be writing your exams very soon, so um, please do advise which topic should I touch on. I was thinking of going through the calculations. I know to some the calculations may be easy, but they can be quite tricky, and it's something that we need to pay attention to. And yes, feel free to share question papers with other people, share links that can help us grow. And thank you so much once again for subscribing to the channel. It's because of you that this channel is growing. It's because of you that I get motivated to teach other people, that I get motivated to share knowledge and also assist others in preparation for their exams. Otherwise, that's it from me. Thank you so much. Until next time, keep keep up, keep well.